Now it's recording.
Oh, thank you. Hey, everybody. It's the crazy two are back. How is everybody today? If you're watching the replay, we would love you to put down one word that describes how you feel about your body in this current environment and in this current now. And then what we're going to do is on day 2 of the body, we're going to ask the same question and see how you're feeling. So if you're watching the recording, which you probably all are because we've had to do another video due to the beautiful internet gods. So if you're watching the recording, pop down how you're feeling right now within your body. We would love to know. So today, as you now are aware, we're talking about the body. So far we've done the heart, 2 beautiful days on the heart, and we've done the mind, 2 trainings on the mind, and now we're about to go into the next part of our Reclaim the Self, which is the body. And we're super excited to be sharing this as always. So today, I'm actually not going to be doing a lot of talking, which I know is very unusual for me, because this is the beautiful Maya's speciality. She is the most phenomenal. I actually call her the body whisperer. Like, she just knows the body. And she's absolutely helped me transform mine from the inside out. Helped me to, facilitated for me to go through a 5-day fasting. Water fasting was an amazing experience. Has absolutely transformed my nutrition and helped me to move to a plant-based diet, which my body loves, and that was what it was about. It was about, doing what was best for my body. Oh God, what else has she done? She's just phenomenal. Anytime there's something wrong with my body, she just knows, right down to when she actually knows when I've been naughty because of the trigger that happens inside me. You had caffeine? So I would love to now pass it on to the beautiful Maya, and she can share, as we have done the rest of the series, a little bit about, or a lot about, what the body is happening within this current climate through what we're experiencing. So the divine Maya, I leave it up to you.
Hi, everyone. Yes, as Lisa mentioned, the lovely Lisa, we are going to begin this module of the body knows in the context of this situation. And what we'd like to talk with you about today is how our individual bodies, identify them, and identify them in terms of who they are, what they are, how they are, in what way are they functioning individually in this circumstance, in this situation that we find ourselves right now. And we want to talk a little bit about the earth body, and then we want to become much more curious about our own bodies in this context. Figure out through that curiosity what the intelligence is behind how the body is. And so without further ado, we can just go ahead and get started. And just so you know, Lisa and I will both be giving examples. We'll be talking a lot from our own personal experience, just to help you guys to stay with us and just to relate to some of the things that we are talking about. So in the past few weeks, I've heard from a few clients who have told me how difficult it's been for them. A lot of them have lost a lot of discipline during this period. And I've honestly, I'm quite a gentle coach, which might be a surprise for some of you, especially if you've studied with me in Iyengar yoga. But as a nutritionist, I'm quite gentle with the body because I understand that food is so personal, and it's the thing that nourishes us and that connects us with the idea of mother, or that person who made sure that we were nourished and sustained when we were so small. And so, we have during this period many different emotions coming up, lots of emotions that are very obvious, lots of emotions that are very in the forefront, very evident. And then we have a lot of hidden emotions. We have a lot of emotions that are being flooded through us, through the collective as well. And what happens even in just normal circumstances when life is going, pretty routinely, and then we get thrown a curveball during the day. Someone shocks us with some news, or um, we are frustrated by someone's behavior, um, or we get overwhelmed because our bosses bring in a ton of work and say this needs to be done, within the next 24 hours. Can you stay late today? Or we might feel disoriented, or just unbalanced because we wake up from a hangover. And these are all in normal circumstances. And during that time, our bodies, of course, they have to figure out how to restructure, reorganize. So right now we are in a situation where things aren't normal, and um, we've got we've got um, we've got all of this stuff happening to us that has taken our lives and just really just thrown everything up in the air and said, okay, now deal with this. Stay at home. Stay at home for most of you. Stay at home and figure it out. And of course, there are all of these emotions that come up with all of a sudden this imposed situation where we are disempowered, and there's anxiety because the sources of income have changed drastically or are threatened. There's overwhelm and fear because we've been told that this virus is highly infectious, and people are dying from it. We're overwhelmed and frustrated and afraid and anxious for our family members, for our loved ones. We also feel a lot of discontent and discord with people who are doing things that trigger us, or they're doing things that we don't want them to do. And so, and then there are all these different political views and religious views and social views and cultural views and scientific views and everything that we're just being bombarded with. Now, the body is a very intelligent and a very competent organism. Not only is it intelligent and competent enough that it can deal with the hundreds of thousands of viruses and bacteria that are surrounding us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but also it is highly intelligent and helps us to understand how we can adapt and understand the situations that we're in. The body is constantly sending us signals to help us understand what is this working or is this not working? Do we need to adjust, or do we need to make some, or can we settle with the situation? Do we need to fine tune, or do we need to revamp and overhaul completely? So the body is just this absolutely amazing vehicle and friend and lover that we've been given for this existence, for this reality. Now, as I was saying, I've had a few clients come to me and say that they've fallen off the wagon, they've fallen off of their regimes, they're not as disciplined during this period. And what I've said to them is, hey, that's okay. It's your body letting you know that you're not most likely processing stress very well right now. And so in terms of using food or drinks, or whatever it is that you can put in your mouth or on your mouth or whatever, using those things in order as a way to cope and as a way to disperse or dampen these emotional charges, that aren't actually being dealt with. So just have some patience. Try and stick with the discipline that you have. When you make a mistake, that's okay. Get back on when you're ready, and press forward. And then there are others who are actually have been able to take this period, and because they've been given so much time that they've actually wanted for a very long time, the discipline levels have moved up. They've gotten a charge. And I mean, all I can say to you is lucky you. That's, that's absolutely fantastic, and I'm so happy for you, and I'm absolutely cheering for you, and I'm in your corner. I think it's an amazing thing when 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 we are given opportunities that we can take advantage of and begin to create better lives, better habits, better eating habits, better thought patterns. Use that time to create a discipline and a new life, so that things are better for you. That's absolutely fantastic. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about falling off the wheel. um, so some of you may know that we, of course, all of you know that we held a retreat during the as things were breaking down in the Western world, and as lockdown was slowly becoming a part of natural life in many different Western countries, and panic was slowly increasing and increasing in the West. When we finished our retreat, I actually was homeless, and so I went through pretty much 3 weeks trying to figure out where I was going to live, which country I could go to, where it made sense to go. And then, once I figured out my visa situation, figuring out, exactly what I could afford here, and finding a place to stay temporarily during this period. And I'll tell you that during this time, I did not process things very well. As I mentioned to you all during the mind segment, my thought processes, my habitual thought behaviors are, when I am in times of high stress and turmoil, I tend to use old strategies of perpetual positivity and excessive gratitude, and really just exhibiting these very strong and unaffected masks. And unfortunately, that really doesn't help me out very much, because I don't process emotion. I just push things down. People around me have no idea that I'm actually falling apart on the inside, so I don't get the help and the support that I need. And as a result, I can remember I was staying at a friend's house, and every morning I was waking up and I was like, oh, my stomach hurts this morning. And they'd say, well, what's wrong? And I'm like, I got up at 11:30 and I had a bunch of peanuts. And it was like 4 nights in a row, 5 nights in a row. Every single night, 11:30, I'd get up. And sometimes it would be just peanuts. Sometimes it would be peanuts with something, I don't know, I'd mix it with all kinds of stuff. And I just, knowing full well that the next morning my stomach would hurt and I would feel like crap. And so luckily there wasn't anything else for me to chomp on. But I did, oh yeah, there was also fried tempeh, which is like, you hear tempeh and you think, oh, that's healthy. No, fried tempeh, packaged fried tempeh is not healthy. So, and it's with peanuts, with spicy peanuts. So, I wasn't processing my emotions. So of course, my who, what, when, why, my who, what, when, why of the body during these circumstances is someone who is pushing through, staying strong, staying positive, staying happy, staying in gratitude, recognizing all the beauty around, recognizing all the good and all the luck and all the fortune. While the reality was that I was anxious, I was exhausted, I was fatigued, I was worried, I was hyper concerned. All of these different, I felt overwhelmed, completely disoriented, because what the heck am I doing in Bali? I'm supposed to be in Italy preparing for France and Portugal. Like, this is just like crazy. And so this is how my body was dealing with things and the things that changed for me. So I'm gonna just give the mic to Lisa now and let her give us some examples of how her body has been during this time, and just what the situation has been for her in terms of who, what, when, why, how is the body with regards to this circumstance that we're in right now.
Yeah, for me, thank you, darling. Thank you for sharing that. It's funny, as you were talking, I was just running through my mind exactly how I was being, and how I actually went into quite a few old, definitely some old programming around food within my body, and definitely some old patterns. But mine was triggered by something, what I want to talk to you about was, mine was really triggered by something that I didn't realize that I had done, which was going to sound a bit weird. But so when I left Maya, I waved goodbye to her at Bali, which was really hard to do. And I spoke about this in the mind, all these different emotions were coming up, and I felt like I'd abandoned her. And as you know, as I spoke about, once again, the mind is a big thing for me, being abandonment for me. So I felt like I was reflecting on someone else. So I went into a lot of turmoil within my mind. And when I got back, I just sat down and I just worked for 2 weeks. I was 2 weeks in quarantine. I worked and worked and worked and worked. I didn't really break my normal routine at all of eating, of one of my coping mechanisms is of avoidance is to work. So for the first 2 weeks, I just traveled along, and I honestly had an amazing 2 weeks. They really were. Once I'd come back and made peace with where I was, and grounded and balanced and everything, and really got back into my body. It was, as I spoke about one the other, it was things really shifted for me when I actually, the first day out of quarantine, when I went out into what I call the big bad world, because I had been in a beautiful space, and I'm an introvert, so I love being at home. So I was absolutely on cloud nine. Like I was happy to be in the state I was. I was happy in my body at that stage. Everything was thriving. I was feeling amazing. I did the water fast with Maya, and my body was thriving. It was absolutely thriving. It was in a space of real beautiness. And when I got back, I remember my husband just going, "Oh my God, look at your body. Wow." The 2 months with, working underneath Maya, working underneath Maya and her working on the body, so to speak, really did bring it to a place where everything was the clarity, my mind, everything was firing. Like I was on point. And that 2 weeks was beautiful. And then I stepped out into the reality of what was going on, and more so, as I spoke about in the mind, I felt into the collective and what was happening, and I had a lot of emotions come up in my body. I had a lot of things that were triggered within me that I had to understand what was happening, and I was trying to push down the emotions. I was trying not to deal with them, and I went, and I remember the first time I went out, Neil said to me, "Do you want a hot drink?" And I'd stopped drinking caffeine. I hadn't had caffeine for, Maya, 2 months?
Yeah.
No, about 6 weeks. I hadn't had any caffeine. And I was like a massive caffeine drinker. My programming around believing that I needed caffeine was huge. Caffeine, I'm not talking about that. It was massive. I thought I needed caffeine to work. I thought I needed for time, blah, 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 all these different things. I went straight for caffeine. Plus with my beautiful addictive personality. And I remember him saying it to me, and I was in a place of just feeling anxious. And I said to him, the chai latte, because one of my beautiful friends drinks chai lattes, and I thought, that doesn't have any caffeine in it, and I just naturally assumed he would get almond milk because I don't do milk anymore. Well, he came back with this chai latte, and it was pretty freaking good, by the way. It was very sweet, and my senses were not picking up on much anyway, so sweetness was what I want, because that was my other coping mechanism. And I had this chai latte, and I remember about half an hour later, I was wired, and I hadn't had any caffeine. And then the next thing I know, I'm like, right, well, let's go and have some fish and chips. And Yeah, and then I had alcohol, and I hadn't had alcohol for the same amount of time. Like, I had really given my body exactly what it wanted. I had taken myself away from any addictive substance that was bad for me, that was not good for my body. And I hadn't had alcohol, I hadn't had caffeine, I hadn't had fat food. Like, I was in a place of just really honoring what my body wanted. And when you work with the body whisperer, you understand your body. And it was, and it, all these old addictive behaviors came, and I was still pushing down the emotions. And it was, I'll cut a long story short, it was a 48 hours. It was probably a little bit less than 48 hours. It was 2 nights and a whole day. And I ate the next day. I think I ate the whole freaking kitchen. Like, I was emotionally eating. And that was an old thing. I used to always go to the fridge, open the fridge and go, okay, so any emotion or anything coming up, I'd just reach for food. I would just fill that emotion with food. It was not that my body was hungry at all, but emotionally, I didn't want to process what was going on. And Maya was talking about this before, processing the emotions. And when you store them in your body, sooner or later, it explodes. And for me, my old pattern was food. I would eat food, and then at night, and then I had like 2 glasses of wine. I was pissed as a fart, but it was like, it was the old coping. And the next morning, I got up and I went, okay, so what's going on? And I reconnected with my body, and I realized I was feeling, who went, as you said, the who, what, where, and why, was that I realized that who I was I was falling back into my old patterns. What I was doing to my body was what I had always done, which had not served it at all. My clarity and mental, everything was just going crazy, and I wasn't in my body. I mean, after I did the water fast, that was the first time I really truly understood about what being in your body was. And why I was doing it was because I just didn't want to listen to. The reality was, I didn't want to process the emotions. I didn't understand them. It was really weird. I'd come off this 2 months absolute massive high, and I wasn't allowing myself to see what was really going on. I wasn't allowing my emotions. And, I felt a lot of emptiness. I was really unfulfilled. I was disrupted. That word really comes up for me. I was disrupted. And it wasn't just my life. It was me inside. My whole body felt like it was disrupted. I went to a lot of judgment on myself, and I just wasn't processing my emotions. I wasn't, really allowing myself to understand with a beautiful, beautiful openness, which is what I spoke about on the heart day and the mind day, what was actually going on. That's my share. I think that was the biggest thing was coming up for me. And then when I really got back into the body and I understood what was happening, I was able to really get back into that space of processing my emotions. And the other thing that was coming up for me was, and this is a telltale sign for me, was I was bloated. My tummy kept getting bloated, but yet I wasn't eating, and I wasn't eating anything that used to make my tummy bloat, and it was just that real heavy density. And I shouldn't know. And whenever I get that, that's trapped emotions for me. So I was definitely not listening to my body at all. And I haven't had a chai latte since, because wow, that was anxiety plus. So yeah, that was probably my story, honey. Actually, I remember ringing you and
saying, it's interesting because
sorry, go
ahead.
No, I was just saying, I remember calling you and I didn't tell you the whole story. I was like, oh God, how can I tell my and I remember saying to you that about the chai latte, and you going, and these were your words, and I was like, holy moly, because I wasn't understanding at that stage what was going on. I remember you saying to me, it'll be interesting to see what other addictions try to take force back into your life, and what other patterns and programs after you've had the chai latte. And I was like, oh, okay, now I better tell you. It was like you already knew. Funny.
So what you shared really got me. I mean, first of all, I know that this happens quite often, that, you know, clients will, if things will happen, old patterns return, old situations return, and then there's, you know, momentary relapse. So it wasn't anything that I certainly didn't want to tell you to wait for that to happen, but it was definitely, I was expecting it.
Yeah.
And it's always, I feel bad because it's always much more terribly lived by the client. Um, and you know, it's honestly, it's just a part of being human. And 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 really recognizing and realizing that, you know, we spend decades forming these different habits and these different behaviors. Decades, like literally not 1 decade, not 2 decades, but, you know, usually 2.5, 3, 4 decades creating these patterns. So to have the expectation of the body to eliminate and resolve and reinitiate lasting and new patterns in, you know, with a 28-day regime, yes, things will, but there still will be, when there's emotional turmoil and stress, there will be these moments where the resolve and the discipline and the new habits just aren't enough. One of the things that came to me as I was listening to your share, Lisa, is just how the body is so intelligent, and how it, you know, it helps you to, it helps us to maintain balance. So, you know, this entire time when we are introducing all of these different chemicals in the body is doing its very best to regulate and to find that balance. So, you know, we put in the caffeine, and then we need some alcohol, and then we need some fat, and then we need some, you know, it's just like, we need some drinks, and then we need to, you know, it's like just constant, like, okay, what next chemical can I put in the body so that I can kind of be functional and you know, participating in life, and present enough in life that's and comfortable as I do it. Um, so yeah, thanks so much for your share. The other thing that your share also reminded me of was how my body during this period as well, it has not reacted very well with with sleeping cycles, and so, you know, I my insomnia has returned on many nights, and so that makes me wonder, and makes me want to ask you all, you know, who, what, when, why, where is your body in these circumstances? Challenged with your diet? Are you challenged with moving, getting your body to move, exercise? Are you challenged with your sleep cycles? Are you challenged with you know, addictive behaviors that involved legal or illegal drugs? Yeah, I'm just curious about that. You know, maybe some of you have coping strategies that involve compulsive shopping or compulsive buying, and maybe you notice some things happening when you go to the supermarkets to restock, or if you're not able, or if supermarkets are not fulfilling that need to compulsively buy things. How are you dealing with that? There are many different things to look at and to consider as we look at the body, and really place it in the context of the situation so that we can understand what exactly is going on. The more that we understand who we are right now, who we are in our bodies, and how our bodies are reacting to these current circumstances, the more we can recognize what is going on, the better we can become aware of these circumstances. And then we have more clarity, we have more understanding, we can begin to have more compassion, and we can make great change with that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is what these changes in the body, what these observances of our bodies, what's the intelligence behind it? What are, from what we are observing, what can we learn? Um, what are the things that the body is teaching us in these moments? Do you have something you want to say, Lisa? She's using one of our secret signals, but it was actually scratch. Okay.
That we don't need to use it, so I forgot about it. Sorry, no, I had an itch. Please continue, darling.
So, you know, as we move, what is the intelligence here? What are we being taught? You know, in the context of this situation, we talked a lot about the Earth's body. We've talked a lot about the Earth's heart and the Earth's mind. As we look in this situation and we figure out, like, you know, what is the intelligence? What are we being taught? And what I find for myself personally is that when I, you know, am feeling overexhausted because I'm not sleeping very well or enough, or I'm not getting quality sleep, or I'm waking up at 11:30 at night to get a snack of spicy peanuts and fried tempeh, knowing good and well that that's going to make my tummy hurt the next morning, or give me nightmares. What I am learning from my body actually is that I am in a very highly stressful situation, that I'm overwhelmed. I'm learning from my body that this situation is not something that I can easily adapt to, and I'm also being told by my body that I actually need help, that I need witnesses to help me process what's going on. I need other humans to connect with who can listen to me and who can say, you know, I hear you, I understand what you're saying, I feel for you, I recognize that, you know, you are going through a really hard time right now, and that you're scared, and that you are insecure, that things are very uncertain and undefined for you, and that puts you in a higher state of distress. I can understand your worry, and I can recognize your concerns. And just having someone voice that back to me is enough for me to begin to soften the ends of my nervous system, and to give me some brief moments of peace, of inner peace and comfort. You know, as I've said many times during this program, the healing happens with community. Again, we can do as much self-help work as we want. We can go to psychologists. We can, you know, do all of this work solo. But the true healing and the true, it's not true, but it's just complete healing happens in groups, in community, and through that community we find unity, and in that unity we find completeness and healing. It's not casual that we're humans, and humans do well in community. It's not casual that we have a collective mind. It's not casual that when we come together in music groups that we're able to form a hyper brain. It's not casual that when we play on athletic teams, the same thing happens. A hyper brain is formed. And, you know, and with the teams where that network, that brain network is tighter and more streamlined, the better the performance of the team. So, you know, we are communal organisms. We are a community, and we do need community to complete and move into these spaces of balance and of neutrality and not just constant. So along with the question of what is the body teaching you in this moment? And also, how are you, what's the intelligence behind these messages of the body's discomfort and adaptation and patterns and things that are coming up for you? We asked you as well in the preliminary questions for this section, again, is the body in healing or in crisis? So, if you'd like to also comment below in the comment section of this video, we'd love to hear from you if your body is in healing or in crisis. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Lisa while she tells us her body's intelligence and her body's teachings.
So, yeah, for me, I think that what I can connect to within that, and it's not a story around what's happening in the current climate, but it's more of a share of how I transitioned just before Christmas into a plant-based diet, which then led me to a few months later disconnect myself from caffeine. And what was happening within my body was, and it wasn't that I was, it wasn't for any political or any like, oh, I'm against people eating animals or anything like that. For me, it was listening to my body, and it was understanding that my body was giving me messages all the time, and I was just ignoring them. When I was eating certain foods, the intelligence of my tummy would puff out, and it would say, well, that doesn't resonate with me. That doesn't, even though, yeah, you like putting it in your mouth and chewing it and swallowing it, it's not good for me. Can we stop doing that? And I kept ignoring the signs. I would eat certain foods and I would get really fatigued. I would be really tired. I would eat certain foods and my brain would be like, oh, mushy. And then what I would do is that my programming was that I would have caffeine, or I would have something that would give me a lift. And I had a really good diet. Like, I didn't have a bad diet. The few things that I did was I ate too much. I didn't understand how to really stop and listen to my body and realize that at that moment, it didn't want food. It wanted something else. I had an emotion coming up that I needed to process, or I had an emotion coming up that I need to look at, or I'm not talking about big emotions, even tiny emotions, like, okay, so I was tired. I didn't need to have caffeine. I was about to do a coaching call. I didn't need to eat to keep my energy up. All these beliefs and programming that I had, that I just went on autopilot and did. Okay, so I've been breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, I better eat that because that's what I've always been told to eat. Oh, I've got to eat before I work out. I've got to eat after I work out to fuel up my muscles. Oh, I've got to eat lots of protein. All these different things that I was told, and I really wasn't understanding the intelligence of my body. And I'm talking about my body. And I realized that I thrive a million times better on no caffeine. Like, I don't need it. And for me to say that, I mean, back in my days when I was an addict, in the morning I used to have 2 Red Bulls and about 4 cups of coffee just to get out the door. You know what I mean? So my body thrives on eating plant-based. It absolutely loves it. It just loves it like nothing else. And then you can get more and finer and finer in it. When I was working with Maya and I understood, and I come to her and say, I'm really lethargic. Okay, so have you had these different things? Oh shit, no. Okay, cool, we need to have that. And I'd come and I'd go, you're feeling a bit fuzzy. Oh, have you had that? Oh no. Okay, cool. So when you start to understand how your body talks to you, and especially for me, when I get stressed, I eat. And that was what was happening to me just after I went out. I was getting a stage where I was getting a little bit of anxiety coming up, which probably the freaking right, eh? But, and emotions that I was storing, and I wasn't listening to the intelligence of my body telling me what I needed. And when I actually ended up, and I remember calling you, and I was like, I just went to do a 1-day water fast, and I ended up doing 2, and it was so easy. It was easy because my body wanted it. It was like, okay, let's do this. Whereas when I'd done them before, I'd pushed myself to do cleanses. So yeah, for me, if you ask me about the intelligence of my body, I never used to listen to it. I never used to think about it. I just used to go into my programming, go into my patterns of what I'd already known. And especially at this time right now, you know, when we are, everything is quite heightened. The energy's heightened after full moon. I know I ate a lot after full moon, but my body wanted it, and I was okay with that. It's not like when I overeat, it's like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. No, it's when you listen, then you can fulfill it. So after the full moon, the energy was insane, and I just went, I ate everything my body wanted. I was eating lots of carrots and salads, and you know, it wanted a little bit of sweetness and it wanted a little bit of this, but I actually asked it, okay, what do you want? What do you want? Okay, you want sweetness, you want savory, which was just all taught to me by Maya. And it's interesting when you realize that your body is a brain in itself, as far as I'm concerned. Oh my God. Yeah, and I was stopped looking externally for things to fulfill myself internally when I just needed to listen to my body. Really, really fascinating creature. And I'm still learning more about it. And I could probably talk more about the water fast if you wanted to. I mean, that changed my whole freaking world. Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll do a video for you guys on that. We're gonna try this one short because we are understanding that many of you are overwhelmed with quite a bit of material to watch and things to write down. So, but I do want to elaborate a bit just on what Lisa shared. It was a beautiful share. Thanks so much for that share. It is amazing how intelligent our bodies are and how much we are trained not to trust our bodies. Also, how with the industrialization of food, we've been brainwashed or programmed, or you know, we've just been trained not to. Many of us don't know what a hunger cue actually feels like. Like, what does it feel like to be hungry? Many of us think we're hungry and actually we're thirsty, or we're just slightly, or excuse me, or we're dehydrated. Many of us think we're hungry, but we're actually just emotionally exhausted and stressed. You know, it's pretty amazing. And what happens when the body, when an individual is not familiar with what a true hunger cue, what that information actually feels like, and then to respond to that, it leads to many other different, you know, habits and behaviors that are potentially dangerous for the individual. Uh, and with the industrialization of food, and with all of the pharmaceuticals and over-the-counter drugs that we have, we pretty much have everything that we can put in our mouths to compensate for creating an imbalanced body, and then to create an artificial rebalancing. So, and that's generally, you know, that's usually what happens with, you know, this condition of the stomach bloating because of eating particular foods that for Lisa's body just wasn't the right food. For other bodies, it's a perfect food. For her body, creates bloating. But in our industrialized pharmaceutical over-the-counter world, you know, Lisa could use any number of drugs, approved drugs, or supplements, or you know, dietary, complementary, nutritional, whatever. You buy it, you put that on top of the food that sucks for you, and then the stomach kind of calms down. And it's disheartening for me to see these situations, because it's just, you know, buying more and more and more, buying more and more and more, and all of the stuff that we buy is packaged in packaging that isn't recyclable, it isn't reusable. You know, the thing is we live in an age now where, you know, we talk about recycling, and yeah, we recycle or whatever, but we're at the end of that. And there really isn't, it doesn't matter how much we recycle, it's that we need to stop even using recyclable products. So
the other thing,
yeah, go ahead.
Is food is medicine. Food is 100% medicine.
Absolutely. Food is medicine. And when Lisa says that, and it's funny, I won't go into the story, this will be for some talk or something else, But yeah, there's a man who in 2000 and I think it was 2004 he came out with this, or 2006 he came out with this conference that I just stumbled across on YouTube, and it was called Food is Medicine. And it really changed my world, changed my life, it changed a lot of things for me. But yeah, when you say that, Lisa, food is medicine, it's like, well, we're talking about real food, not processed food, not packaged food, not food supplements. It's real food that's medicine. That's what we need, is real food. Not food supplements, not dietary supplements, not obviously not processed foods and packaged foods and, fake meats and vegan created processed whatever. I mean, you can slap whatever you want on it. Low fat, low sugar, low carbohydrates, vegan friendly, whatever. It's like just like a real food. So let's go ahead and begin to wrap this up. As we wrap this up, we just want to, just give you some, really just give you some of our own relatable experiences to help you to figure out where your body is right now in this moment. It doesn't have to be in terms of food, but food is often like such an easy communal connector between humans. Perhaps you have something you'd like to talk about in terms of physical body, the physical shape you're in. Again, maybe you want to talk about your sleeping patterns at this time, your energy levels at this time, how your brain is functioning, if you have a lot of clarity, or you feel like you're able to accomplish a lot of things and focus and have very clear intentions, or if your brain is foggy during this period, cluttered, distracted. If you're easily distracted during this time, or if you are easily a distractor of other people. As Lisa mentioned earlier, the feeling of being disrupted, or if during this time you are disruptive to other people. So just be honest, don't be afraid. We're more than happy to hold this safe space for you. And Lisa's going to go ahead and wrap this up for us. And I think we're going to put the tasks in the comment section for you. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll let Lisa take it over.
Thank you, Maya. That was fantastic. I loved all of it. Oh, it just brought back so many memories on the last, the transformation I've had, even in the last 6 months. It's just been explosive. It's just been completely, it's been amazing. So what we're doing now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can probably pretty much stop watching if you desire to. I'm just going to quickly do a little bit of a wrap up for what we need in the group. And if you do want to join the group, it is on Facebook, and it's called Mind, Body and Soul, The Sacred Connection. So come and find us. I think the link's actually below. Subscribe to the channel and share this video, because we really want people to be immersed in what we're sharing, and we do this sort of stuff in our Facebook group all the time. different things. We do a lot of free programs. It's a beautiful community. There's about over 910 people in there. So yeah, we'd love you to come and join us. So hit the subscribe button. The people that are currently doing the program, the task will be in the pin post, because it was just there's so much activity, there's so many shares, the page is moving fast, there's such beautiful knowledge, everybody's just go. It's just been amazing, and we just want to honor you and say how grateful we are for you really showing up and being vulnerable and sharing what you're sharing. Everybody's learning from everybody. That's what this community is. We're all together, and it's like we're all giving each other a big hug every time someone shares. I love it. So we will post the tasks in the pin post. It has tasks and soul work. So go and find it there, and we will see you in 2 days' time for the next one. I think it's Monday. So we'll see you Monday at 11:11, and we're actually going to try and come on live again. We're really excited. We think we may have found a solutions that you guys can interact. And if not, then we'll share a video, but fingers crossed, guys. So all sending you all so much love. Thank you for coming in here. Thank you for playing follow, and as always, big hugs. See you guys.
Ciao.